Hi, good afternoon to all of you. Welcome you all to this session on From Vision to Impact. I am Rosalind and I'll lead you through this program. To begin with, I would like to brief you about Tesolutions. So, Tesolutions, which was TES in its earlier avatar, is an organization of several experienced and committed individuals from academia, sports, as well as the startup ecosystem, who, along with several ecosystem partners, strive to nurture entrepreneurs from their early startup stage to growth, scale, and success. In this endeavor, we also assist educational institutions and corporates to nurture and develop startup ideas through incubation and innovation programs. Ladies and gentlemen, for our theme today, From Vision to Impact, we have very eminent speakers who will enlighten you on this topic. Our startup invitees here today are the future of this nation. They dare to dream and strive to succeed as entrepreneurs. Amidst their challenging goals, this topic seems most appropriate. I invite our founder, Dr. Nandita Sethi, to please come forward and welcome our guests.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for making it on a Saturday. My thanks and welcome to also all the startups here. I know Saturday is a tough day, and you want that one day of the routine and rut of life, but breaking it and coming here is an effort, and you have done it. So, welcome you to this session. Also, welcome some of you who are from the academic fraternity, from the incubation innovation network. So, welcome you also, and welcome all our invitees and guests as well. Just wanted to put a bit of background to this whole event, so that you know what we are in for. So we see that the innovative world evolving today, that AI has become a big game changer for startups, and it offers several key advantages for the startups in their growth process. You see, from automation of routine tasks, enhanced decision making, personalized customer experience, scalability, risk management, to improve marketing strategies, talent acquisition, and I'm sure much more. You find AI everywhere today, and it's around and in almost all startup models and strategies. In fact, it's almost become fashionable for every startup you ask, what are you doing? Whatever they are doing, they will always say we are also integrating AI in this. So that has become the norm for all startups. So we thought it appropriate to make it to the center point of our talks, and are here today to discuss on how AI is impacting startups to ideate in a different way, to take their models forward in a different way, and to go to market in a different way, and to scale up in a different way. With this little background, I'm sure you're all waiting to listen to our experts, and so I move ahead, and I'm sure we'll all take back important lessons for our work and business from here. So I request Rosalind to.
Thanks, Nandita ma'am, for your welcome address. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we kickstart the exciting part of today's event. Our guest talks on how AI can be a game changer for their startup ideas. Let me take this opportunity to introduce you to our first speaker, Dr. Rajesh Kumar. Dr. Rajesh Kumar, an MTech in Embedded Systems and a PhD in Applied Artificial Intelligence in Biomechanical Engineering, is currently a distinguished academic serving as Chief Technological Scientist at AI Research Center and Associate Professor at the School of Business, Washington University. He holds the prestigious Chair Professor of Franz Ballinger of Information Systems and is actively involved as co-chairperson of the Center of Excellence, Sport Analytics and Management. His research is in human-computer interface-based signal data analytics for biomedical applications, machine and deep learning, and he has participated in various prestigious national and international conferences. So may I request Dr. Rajesh Kumar to please come forward and deliver his address.
Good evening all. So thank you for the wonderful introduction. So yeah, AI, a game changer in enhancing startup ideas. So on this theme, mine is like from the academia perspective and as well as from the startup perspective. I'm trying to bring out some innovations from the AI side. Everyone is hearing about the AI, and then it is how it is changing day by day based on the industry's perspective in the work field and all the sectors, how it is overcoming the domains. You are day by day exploring all these things. When it comes to the startups, how it can help in innovate, optimize, and how we can scale the startups, we can take it forward. So I think everyone is using the ChatGPT kind of tools. There are a lot of tools came into the market after the OpenAI model. So how we can use this tool for brainstorming the ideas. So all the ChatGPT kind of tools are developed with a vast amount of data. So once you use these kind of tools for brainstorming, you will refine your ideas. So that will help to come up with a good idea based on the success stories. When it comes to market research and then analysis, you can use various kind of tools, starting from semantic analysis and then literature reviews or research scopes. All these things, based on the research papers, you can analyze the ideas. So nowadays, the tools like if you upload certain research papers, it is giving the summary. So from the summary, you can understand. No need to spend much time on analyzing the research papers as well. So when it comes to the market data, you can explore all these things based on the advanced tool. So similarly, when it comes to product development, there are the algorithms like machine learning and deep learning and reinforcement learning. So all these algorithms can simplify your task. So AI is nothing but which will avoid the repetitive works. So and then provide you the good insights from the data. So from the historical data, you can come up with the good insights. That is the whole idea about the AI. So then when it comes to the product development, based on the feedback, based on the pattern of data uses, you can come and then you can understand how it is changing the perspectives of the individual mindsets. So for that, and then you can utilize the power of AI powered tools. So such tools will help you in designing the simulation models. We developed recently, it's called a tech entrepreneur simulation. If you do one step, what will happen in your startup ecosystem? If you do the wrong step, what will happen in the ecosystem? So these kind of simulation development tools we have developed at AI Research Center. So these tools will help you to analyze your startup ideas. So not only that, personalized customer experiences are more popular nowadays when it comes to the Swiggy, Zomato, starting from that, the notification kind of things, all these things you can come up like a personalized things. So nowadays if you are developing any idea also, how it can be validated in the real-time market. All these things you can come up with the AI support. So apart from that, operational efficiency also you can measure. So with the AI tools, so how you can streamline your business ideas, how you can go into the market, all these analysis you can utilize the AI tools. So just by overviewing all these terminologies like scaling growth, all these things will be helpful in understanding the business perspectives when it comes to the startups. So there are certain challenges and considerations when you are using the ChatGPT kind of tools. What is the biases and how you are giving the prompts, all these things you should be aware of that. And then every industry there are certain challenges. How you can take it forward is based on your understanding, and then what are the data security challenges, you need to look into these things. So AI will help you. At the same time, you have to be cautious about how you are using the AI. That is the whole conclusion from that. And then we are working on the different technologies, starting from the embedded systems, like a circuit level designs, to the AI advanced models, so like ChatGPT kind of developments. So however, whatever you are developing, you should be conscious on the model. So these are the technologies we are working at the Oxford University AI Research Center. So starting from the AI in acrobatics. Acrobatics is a new innovation with the skeletons and all, spiders movements, we are developing that. And then IoT and embedded systems, virtual and augmented reality and XR. These are the domains you can focus on that. And then software and web development, that is well known. And then blockchain and Web3, HCI. And NLP and own language models. We are developing our own language models there. And then quantum computing. So if you want any guidance on these domains, we are open to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. That was illuminating indeed. And I'm sure my startup friends would surely find a potent tool in AI to propel their venture. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Ms. Mahua Ghosh, who will provide us with some interesting ways that technology products can reflect your target market needs. Ms. Mahua Ghosh is a product leader with over 16 years of experience in product management. She has worked with several mid-sized and Fortune 500 organizations across life sciences, telecom, IT, and B2B commerce. She's currently working with Dell as Director, Product Line Manager, and AI Strategist. She is passionate about innovation and holds 9 patents. She has won several awards, co-authored a book on product, strategy, and innovation. She is an active speaker and contributor on topics like product management and design thinking in several forums like IIIT Hyderabad, Institute of Product Leadership, Upgrad, etc. She is also a YouTube channel. She also has a YouTube channel on product management and importantly has mentored over 500 product management professionals over the past 3 years. So I have a great pleasure in presenting before you Ms. Mahua Ghosh, who will speak on building market-driven tech products. Ms. Mahua Ghosh.
Hello everybody. Okay, now this is better. So first and foremost, I'm extremely happy to be here, and thank you for that lovely introduction. So I'll just get started with my topic. So I'll be talking on transforming startup with AI from vision to impact. So just to kind of give you a rundown of how I have kind of structured the presentation. First, I'll cover during the startup journey. Across the various phases, where all can you leverage AI to create competitive advantage. Then I'll talk about some real world examples. I'll talk about some Indian startup and some big companies who have really capitalized on the Gen AI evolution. And then I'll cover if you are looking to kickstart your AI transformation, I'll cover some of the best practices and some of the key metrics for success that you should consider. And towards the end, I guess we'll part the Q&A towards the end of today's session. So on this slide, what you see are the various phases of startup, right? First, it's the founder would be on the concept stage. Basically, at this phase, you have some high-level ideas, and you are looking to create more ideas to kind of solve that problem. So at this phase, you would be doing market research or as well as creating prototypes so that your ideas become more concrete. So at this phase, there is no product, nothing, and in terms of funding, you are probably just self-funding. So at this phase, the founders can definitely leverage Gen AI tools like, again, in the market currently, given we are all 1.5 years into the Gen AI revolution, there are hundreds of tools, but my recommendation is when you are starting off as a founder, my recommendation would be to use tools like ChatGPT, custom GPTs, or alternative to ChatGPT would be Cloud, and for Figma, doing prototype, you can leverage Figma. The reason I'm kind of calling out these applications, these are well known and from cost standpoint, very reasonable. Literally, they have all of these tools as a free version. So on the exploration phase, basically at the concept phase, you can leverage AI to have more innovative ideas in a most cost-effective manner. Then comes the next phase, which is validation phase or the pre-seed phase. At this stage also, everything is typically self-funded, or maybe at the max, you're pitching your idea to your friends, family, or you're looking for a government grant. So at this phase, typically startup founders, they look for more feedback, more detailed feedback. So they do a lot of feedback analysis, they do competitive analysis, as well as once they kind of figure where they stand in terms of their USP, then the next phase is they start writing proposals so that they can get some paying customers. So be it feedback analysis, competitive analysis, or proposal writing, for all of these main activities, again, startup founders can leverage Gen AI to their benefits. Again, the tools that I mentioned are not finite list, there are innumerable tools, but my recommendation is, again, like always, start with the easy one and which doesn't cost too much. So the ones that I have mentioned are ChatGPT, Custom GPT, the GPT marketplace. You'll find tons of helpful GPTs there. And alternative to ChatGPT would be Cloud. So you don't need to use both. Like any one should suffice. So once you move on to the next phase of your startup journey, that is once you have an idea, you've got some level of validation. So at this point in time, you would be actually looking for funding in terms of either seed funding, angel seeds, seed venture capitalists, or crowdfunding. So at this point in time, you would have to start developing your product. So in the build phase, typically, as I said, you would have to start building your first version or the MVP. So you would need to actually write codes. You would have to have final designs, and at this phase, you would also have few paying customers, so you would also have to think about customer support. So for all of these, again, you can leverage Gen AI. So when it comes to product development, you can use GitHub Copilot. For UX, UI design, again, Figma, recently, like about a month back, in the Figma config, they have launched generative AI capabilities, meaning no longer the designers need to start from scratch when it comes to designing the wireframe prototype. All of that can be done using the Figma Gen AI plugins. So you can definitely use Figma for the UX UI piece. There are also other applications. One of the notable one I really like is Galileo AI. That is also very good when it comes to UI UX prototype design. And when it comes to customer support, again, you can leverage any LLM models like ChatGPT, LLM model, or anyone to build your own customer support, basically AI agent. Otherwise, in the market, there are a lot of Gen AI based application available, which would provide customer support. So you can also look at those and see if they have a good subscription model that works for you. The only thing that I would recommend is for doing any of the things that I have called out, be it in the explore phase, validate phase, or build phase, do not rely fully on AI. Use AI to do the basic job, but for each of the tasks, you would need a human expert to ensure that whatever you are aiming for is foolproof. So same applies to customer support as well. Do not ever look for fully automated customer support, especially when you are in the seed phase. Basically, you just have few paying customers. Customer support is a very crucial aspect of any product or services company. So ensuring a human layer is very important. Now moving on to the next phase. So let's say you have built your MVP, you have launched. So you have built your MVP, you have few, let's say, paying customers. Next, you would have to launch it to the market, right? So when we are talking about launch, basically, in the early stage, you again look for more funding in terms of crowdfunding, angel funding, or VC funding. And in terms of main activities that as an entrepreneur or as a startup company that you would have to do are, let's say, creating marketing campaign, doing sales forecasting, looking at customer insights, buying behaviors, and formulating various pricing models and all of that. So for doing each of these, you can again leverage Gen AI. There are again tons of tools available in the market. The main ones that I would like to again point out are, you can leverage ChatGPT, you can leverage Custom GPT. For marketing, creatives or marketing content, if you want to go a little extra, you can also look to use Jasper. And for any types of, let's say, visuals that you would have to create, that may include video or images, you can look to look for subscription of tools like Midjourney or Runway ML. Again, there are many. These are my favorites, so I have used all of these. I find all of this to be super effective, and not just in terms of the output, also in terms of cost. Their cost structure is very good, very economical. So I'm going to move on to the next phase. So once you have launched your product into the market and you've done that a couple of times, and let's say at this point in time, you have a lot of paying customers and you would be looking to grow your business further, right? So you would still continue to look for VC rounds of funding if need be. So at this point in time, like basically you are in a growth mode. You have already found your product market fit. So at this point in time, typically things that are relevant and very important for startup companies are to ensure, especially product companies, you would have to ensure that you are providing personalized experience in the product or in the services. So personalization becomes a very important aspect. The second one would be, as a startup founder, you would have to look to ensure that you are, looking at all aspects of operations and you are making it more efficient. And you are on the growth mode. So scalability is again a big factor or big thing that startup founders really pay a lot of attention at this phase. So again, be it creating personalized experience, improving operational efficiencies, or ensuring that your solution is scalable, you can strategically and very mindfully leverage AI. For example, for creating personalized experience, you can use LLM models. Basically, you can figure out for your relevant product what all areas that you can create an AI-based experience. Those would be your AI use cases for your product. So for that, again, you can use the API version of ChatGPT, basically access to their LLM through an API. Alternatively, Claude also offers similar services. You can also leverage that. And for ensuring that whatever solution, like the AI infrastructure that you have that is scalable, you can look and you can explore solutions like AWS. You can also look at Google Cloud AI. You can also look at Microsoft Azure. So all of them have very good AI infrastructure support, which can scale as your business scales. And their cost, or basically their price plans, are also very competitive. So based on your business needs, you can plan accordingly. So next is, let's say, you have done this for a couple of years and your business is now like, you have reached leadership in your respective field. That is, you have reached maturity. So at this point in time, you are no longer a startup, you are basically a big company. But you would still have to continue to ensure that you're staying competitive, you're a leader in your space. So you typically, at this stage, companies need to do all of that by looking at a lot of data. So they would look for advanced analytics. They would have to ensure that they mitigate risk. They're looking at risk from all different angles, and continuous innovation, right? So that's no-brainer there. Again, to do all of that, definitely leverage AI to your benefit. So this is again bird eye view in terms of how a startup really kind of operates, and from a startup it becomes a very mature company. It doesn't happen overnight, it takes time. But what I try to kind of showcase here is at each of the phases you can leverage AI to your benefit to create, innovate faster, create a long-term competitive advantage, and do all of that in a very cost-effective manner. So I know a lot of information, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to move on to the next slide. Now I'd like to talk about some of the successful startups, right, who have really used Gen AI to their advantage. Again, by no means this is a finite list, or this is not in any order. This is some of the startups that caught my attention. Hence I'm talking about them. So the first one on the list is GoCodio. So this is a company. This is an Indian startup company. They have a Gen AI agent. What this Gen AI agent can do is it can do software development testing for anybody, like any other software companies. So it can do, integration testing, unit testing, regression testing, penetration testing, and it can seamlessly integrate with any developer workflow. So this is a startup. They have just started like little over 1 year, and within such a short span of time, they have already helped more than 16,000 developers across 150 companies globally to reduce post-production defects and improve software reliability. The next one of my favorite is Kishan AI. So this is a company who leverages Gen AI to detect crop disease early on. Not just that, also provide weather-related information to farmers in their local languages. So think about it, like they have really solved a true problem for a wider audience in India. So essentially, they would be providing, or they are providing crucial agricultural advices to thousands of Indian farmers every day, helping them to be more productive and resilient against climate changes, and that too in their local language. So they have solved multiple problems in one go. The last one on the list is InVideo. I'm pretty sure many of you have used it. So this is a tool which allows you to create videos, right? So they have leveraged Gen AI, and now they have made the video creation process automated. Meaning you just have to write a script and it will automatically create a video for you. But by no means I'm suggesting you take that and use it as is. Of course, you as a human, you would have to add your unique perspective to that to make it more engaging and appealing to the end users. But all in all, they have really improved, basically they have really streamlined the process of video editing and video creation process. And in last few quarters, they have added more than 8 lakh subscribers to their user base across 150 countries, and they have really also added significant revenue to their pie. So these are some Indian companies who have really made good use of Gen AI. Now let's look at some global players. So we have Nike on the first one on the list is Nike. So Nike uses AI not recently. They have been using AI for a very long time. So they use AI for personalized shopping experience and virtual try-ons to enhance customer engagement and loyalty. So basically they have a Nike Feet app which uses computer vision and machine learning to kind of help the user find the right size for them, and they have combined that with virtual try-on experience. So just imagine sitting at your home, you can find the right size which is right for you, and you can, through their virtual try-on experiences, you can actually try it from the comfort of your home. So this is one company who have really created a unique and engaging customer experience using AI. Next one on the list is Netflix. I'm pretty sure majority of us here use Netflix. So Netflix uses AI-powered recommendations. So every time we log on to Netflix, the list of recommended series, movies that I would see versus you would see would be different. So they have achieved this through use of AI. So in turn, how does it help them? It helps them to increase the user retention and user engagement. The third one on the list is Airbnb. So Airbnb is one company who have used AI almost on all, at multiple levels. So they use AI to personalize search results and recommendations. Not just that, they also do dynamic pricing, all of which improve their booking rates. The next one on the list is an AI company only, but they also use AI to accelerate their design, testing of different vehicle components. All of that helps them to reduce the development time and go to market faster. The last one on the list is Amazon. So Amazon is again a company which provide AI managed services to other companies, but over here I have listed for their Amazon site, right? The Amazon commerce application. So they use AI at multiple levels to optimize the product recommendation algorithm. Not just that, for the women fashion segment, they have also added a lot more AI capabilities. They also allow basically they use AI which recommends the right size for the apparel that you're looking for. Not just that, I'm sure you must have seen that they have also added a review, like a summary of the review. So let's say a product has 20,000 reviews. It's very difficult for a user to kind of scan through 20,000 reviews and understand what majority of the people are saying. So they have kind of solved that problem by providing a summary of the review in a contextual manner for the user. So all in all, these are just some examples. Again, by no means these are exhaustive and these are not in any order. I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the success story. And also I want to mention that these companies are leaders in their space. None of them are startups. So they are at a point where they have added AI use cases in their product itself. But when it comes to product development, operational excellence, for all of that also they heavily rely or heavily use AI, and they use design thinking methodologies to kind of go about and ideate, basically do that ideation to productization life cycle. So now, moving on, so let's assume, I'm pretty sure many of you here are, either a startup founder or thinking about starting your own company. So you might be wondering, like, when it comes to AI, where should we begin? So my advice would be begin small, like do not go all out with AI. Identify small areas, be it product use cases or operational use cases, and once you identify small areas, explore available tools. And I, in the previous slides, I have mentioned about a couple of very popular and easy to use tools. But definitely do your research, see what makes sense for you in terms of cost and other parameters that might be of importance to you. Next is build a cross-functional team. So for startup, like your initial founding team may be a small team, so you would need to collaborate with industry experts, especially who are in the space of Gen AI, designers. And basically, also you should attend more of this type of events where you can collaborate and learn from your peers from the other startup and understand what are the things that they are doing right, working for them, what are the things not working well for them. So basically, it's not going to be a single team who is going to execute anything. When it comes to Gen AI kind of application, it's not going to be one team who's going to be deploying or managing everything end to end. It's going to be a cross-functional effort. Next and third one is leverage existing AI tools. So don't go and start building your own LLM model on day one. It's not needed. So leverage existing tools. That's going to be cost effective, and that's also going to be meaningful for your business. And stay up to date in terms of what's happening in the tech world. And lastly, for whatever you are starting, to use AI with, measure and continuously improve based on your findings. Now, I'd like to conclude with this slide. So in terms of some of the key metrics that as an AI, not as an AI, as a startup founder that you should keep in your mind when you are using AI. So first and foremost, you should always think about customer satisfaction. So measure the change in customer satisfaction after use of AI in your product development life cycle. You are definitely going to see an improve because your time to market is going to be faster. There are going to be lesser number of defects. In terms of quality, reliability, all of that is going to increase. So customer satisfaction metric can be one of your North Star metric to kind of see a change in that. The other one, a very important one, is time to market. So by leveraging AI, you can reduce the time it takes from ideation to actual go live, basically product launch, right? So measure the cycle. So earlier, without using AI, let's say it was 3 months. Now, with the use of AI, maybe it's going to be brought down to 3 weeks. Whatever it is for your business, ensure that you measure that, and that's going to be your, effective use of AI. That's going to essentially help you go to market a lot faster, and that is definitely going to add to your competitive advantage. Next is innovation rate. So evaluate the new ideas that have been co-created by using AI, right? So that's going to reflect the AI effectiveness in fostering creativity and innovation within your product team. Next, and very important, and this is a no-brainer again, cost efficiency. So for all of the areas where you're going to use AI, be it product ideation, development, testing, iteration, you are going to save on cost, right? Because we have seen that Gen AI tools cost a lot less. So try to measure the cost, and it's going to ultimately lead to a lower TCO, total cost of ownership. And lastly, also to me, a very important one is employee productivity. So by using AI, what are you ultimately are able to do? You're able to reduce costs, do things faster, and also you would still continue to have the need to have employees, but they would be spending their time on manual, repetitive tasks. Rather, their time would go into making things better, improving things, or thinking out of the box, like things that typically people should have been doing, but because of the manual and repetitive tasks, they get, let's say today, if AI is not there, people are not using AI, let's say 70% of employees' time goes into creating those, detailed things, which is a lot of the manual steps. So all in all, overall time that employees would be spending, they would be spending on meaningful activities, which would lead to higher satisfaction, and that would result into higher productivity. So these are, according to me, some of the success metrics for startup founders that they should keep in mind when they think about using Gen AI. I'm not recommending you to measure all. See for your company which all ones make sense. But I would recommend to at least use 2 to 3 of the metrics that I have just talked about. With that, I'm going to end, and thank you so much.
Wow. I'm sure we have learned ways that tech products can make your startup journey productive. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we move on to that one word, funding. Yes, the one word the startup world loves and moves forward from day one, worships, and even thanks. We will try and remove all your myths that funding is the only mantra to success in the startup world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's gear up to hear one of the most renowned and successful icons in the startup world, Mr. Sanjay Jasrani, who will now deliver a talk on funding or no funding, the path to scale. So just to let you know, Mr. Sanjay Jasrani is the founder and CEO of Go North Ventures, a proprietary angel investment firm focused on startups. He holds a bachelor's degree in commerce and is a fellow member of ICAI.
Thank you so much, and my respect for the past speakers. I think are very interesting sessions. So how many of you are already startups here? Just a show of hand. About 5, 6, 7 or so. How many are aspiring startups? Any aspiring startups? Okay, okay. Thank you. So my quick intro is, I'm a Pakka Hyderabadi. I've been part of a startup journey myself, a company called Sierra Atlantic, which I joined way back in 1995, 94, 95, as a sort of founding CFO of that company. And I spent 20 years, I just worked with that one startup. But I had a brilliant opportunity at the beginning of the whole IT boom to be part of a wonderful team. Had a chance to take this company to growth, to public. We were listed for 5 years, went back to private, then we grew it to about $100 million. So I saw a $100K to $100 million journey just with that one company. And then we were acquired by Hitachi Consulting, which is a subsidiary of the larger Hitachi Limited. So I stayed on for 3 years. From CFO, I moved to the CEO of that acquired entity, India and China, Hitachi Consulting. And then I left. So my last 11 years now has been in the startup world. Nandita is a dear friend. I have been associated with TEZ on and off as a speaker, mentored right almost from inception. I joke with my large corporate colleagues that startups are like statins which can bust through corporate cholesterol. I really believe that corporates have so much of money. I was part of that journey. That innovation, I have one, no problem. Innovation tends to sort of go down. So my topic today is not directly AI related, but it's a little more foundational topic about funding or no funding, right? The path to scale. And I don't know how many of you agree that can you scale a startup without funding? Any show of hands? Oh, there you are. That's great. So I have support today. I thought people would throw bottles of water at me. Okay. So that's little bit me. This was a poster I had on my desk many years back. It was a sailboat which was standing in the water, and the quote was, "When there is no wind, row." So I think we all need to do that. Can I have the push-up? Yeah. Okay. So I'll cover some of these. I won't spend too much time on this, but I just want to start with that. Having seen this journey 20 years prior and then the last 11 years. So interestingly, I think since I came out of corporate, the startup industry in India also was just on the cusp of a huge boom, right? And of course, it's important for founders to understand. So I'm now an angel investor. I've invested in about 20 startups. It's just my personal portfolio. I've not raised any money from outside. I just invest from my own funding. And I've done about 20 investments. Like I said, I do anywhere from $10,000 to about a max of $100,000. So these are all early stage. I also invest through a network called the Indian Angel Network, which typically invests about 5 to 6 crores in that's the ticket size. Anicut Capital, a few others also. But the reason I wanted to mention is this 11 years I must have met, 1,000 plus founders, aspiring founders. I've watched journeys from start to exit. In fact, very interesting journey, early days, as I just came out of corporate. I met a jewelry startup. Their name was Candier. They were in diamond jewelry. Two founders. One was from a jewelry business. The other was an IIM Calcutta MBA, a business guy. Very interesting. So they had reached out to me on LinkedIn. It was just an inbound sort of this thing, and they just wanted some form of business mentoring. So I spent some time with them. I really liked what they were doing. It was fortunate. I was able to introduce them to an investor friend of mine who actually took 30-40% in that startup, and he helped them to go from where they were to a next level and took them to an acquisition by Kalyan Jewelers. So why I mention this is, the same aspect. Sometimes we all don't need 5 million, 10 million, 20 million dollars, or like Baiju's $10 billion to grow and then die, right? So I think it's important to realize that funding is really, it can be the wind in your sails, it can do a lot of other things. But this journey of this diamond jewelry startup, the reason I mention is that two founders, excuse me, very complementary to each other, managed to get an investor who actually sort of, took them through that rigor of that business growth journey and was able to introduce them to a superbly complementary acquisition. Kalyan was going IPO. They did not have an online presence. They didn't have a young sort of buying audience who was buying 50,000 to 1 lakh type of jewelry units. They all had traditional, some 1,000 plus stores and large ticket items and all. So this company became Candier by Kalyan overnight, just pre-IPO, and now the founder continues to remain the head of the digital part of Kalyan. He got an exit as part of the IPO. He holds stocks and an amazing journey. Yeah. So what I wanted to mention was that a lot of founders whom I meet very often have this issue that investors in India are conservative. The valuations you get are very different from Silicon Valley or anywhere else, right? So it's important for both founders, aspiring founders, to know that the value ecosystem is now 40 years old. India is still just about 10, 12 years old. And what tends to happen in funding is that if you are investing money from a previous exit, your propensity to take risk is much higher. Okay, most of the funds today in India are still just coming out of their first 7 years plus 3-year type of cycle. A typical VC fund raises money from large investors with a intent that over a 7-year period they will invest, they will exit those startups, get that money back and return the money to these investors at maybe 30, 40, 50% compounded sort of growth rate, right? But here, so what happened, the worldwide and even in India, is during COVID, the governments the world over, because all the economies were stalling, a lot of easy money was pumped into the system. Close to $25 trillion was pumped in by all the federal banks to avoid a stall of the economy. And then after COVID, as things started normalizing, all those funds were being pulled back. So the reason I like this slide and to share the slide is that a lot has changed over the last 2-3 years. If you ask me, maybe 3 years back, a SaaS company with a, I don't know, 200K ARR would have got a $5 million funding at a $50 million valuation. Today, a SaaS company with a 200K ARR will struggle and take time. So things have changed. I just meant to sort of mention that here, right? It's the time to design your startup closer to classic entrepreneurship. And what is classic entrepreneurship? We'll cover that. But I'm sure, all of you have friends, seniors, family members who have been entrepreneurs who, when they were growing up, nobody had access to the type of capital which startups have got, right? But finally, a startup has to grow up and become a business, right? So there's no magic dust which is sprinkled on us which says that, okay, here I have an idea and I can go and I can make a prototype and get a 2 crore of funding and I'll make the product, I'll get another 10 crore funding and in 5 years time I'll make 500 crores, 1000 crores. There's nothing automatic about that. So a little bit of my intent to cover this today is to say that when you design your startup, you design it with purpose, thoughtfully, with a rigorous plan. If you get easy funding, that's a great boost, but be prepared that funding is going to be very difficult, okay? So I sort of quickly I'll cover this. This is my homegrown definition of what a classic startup I believe is, right? Ideally a team of founders with experience. I am partial towards, and I'm not against student dropout founders or anything like that, but I just believe that a startup journey is like climbing Mount Everest. It's a long, arduous journey. You need to be prepared, you have to acclimatize, you have to get equipment, Sherpas, everything. There are a variety of base camps which you are going to face at each stage of your climb. And even within, 500 meters of the summit, the weather can change and you just have to go back to the earlier base camp and wait. So there's a lot of things involved. But ideally, a founding team with experience, a complementary founding team. I think for some of the aspiring startup founders, for example, I'm associated with IIIT Hyderabad's incubator. Brilliant computer science, very young teams coming out all the time, superb AI startups, computer vision, machine learning startups, but very often they miss the point on the design and 3 friends, classmates come together to start the startup. But technology is of course very important. Technology is the engine of and the differentiator between startups and traditional industry. But you still need a complementary founding team. There has to be somebody among the founders who is the go-to-market person, who will sort of understand from the market, bring back the requirements of the market to the product team who will go and sell. There has to be an operations and finance person who will take care of the nuts and the bolts, like the metrics Moa mentioned, right? So most technology people are brilliant, but they're a little bit like scientists, right? Love to make new products all the time. Oh, I made a product and that's ready. But, sir, now I'm working on 2 more products. What happened to that first product? What's the revenue life of that product? I don't know, but maybe $5 million. So I said, what's your revenue now? It's about 20K. I said, 5 million revenue life hai, 20K current revenue hai. Why are you building another product? I said, no sir, I like building products and this is not selling, so I thought I'll build one more product. It doesn't work like that, right? So that's where if you have a complementary founding base, things work much better, right? You think through. So clearly, frugal capital, high innovation, and driving enduring value, long-term value. So look for problems which are must-solve problems, right? That's important. Building an elegant solution. So a lot of this, and I'll just jump across to some, industries which I believe are out there, right? There are a lot of Me Too startups today, but there are a lot of emerging areas. The whole AI area itself is huge, although there's a lot of capex flowing there. I think there's a lot of skepticism now that if you have invested, a few $1 trillion in the capex, a Goldman Sachs report said you need to generate $800 billion of revenue per year out of that capex to justify the amount of money which has gone. So there's a little bit of hype cycle in all the investments and the stock market, but there's so many use cases of technology. I would take drone applications, right? I have a startup in Bangalore. It's called Aireo. It's one of my more successful startups. They just raised a 100 crore round. They use drones for a variety of asset management applications. Their drones are used by the Rajasthan government today for land titling. They do land survey with the drone application. And that's going to be rolled out all over India today. So huge focus on the technology side today, right? You take silver living, a very under-addressed area. I'm almost 60 now, right? A whole generation of my colleagues, plus and minus 5 years, are going to be spending a lot of our money and not just giving it off to our children, right? Because the equations are changing, and I don't mean it in a negative way. I'm saying that our parents just left everything to us and we would take care of them and the equation was over. Now, travel, hospitality, housing, bunch of things. On the positive side, on the defensive side, healthcare, bunch of stuff like that, right? A few years back, I met a healthcare startup called Consure as part of Indian Angels, CONSURE. Consure was in a sort of healthcare application which was helping elders if they were bedridden, right? A bunch of sort of hygiene and cleanliness applications, and it was amazing. So what did they do? They had built a product to help the elders, but they went first to the US markets. They got a US market approval and they actually rolled out their entire product line in the US healthcare market, and they are super successful. So bunch of things are out there which I definitely encourage startups to look at as very differentiated options, right? So quickly, a typical startup's path to heaven, in my view, not every startup has to become a unicorn. I think the unicorn as a term is highly overrated, it's just bandied around. But a good journey can be that you raise anywhere from 0 to 3 to $5 million of capital over a 5 to 7 year period. But in raising that capital, you are very conscious, you raise at certain stages, where you are able to deploy the capital very effectively, and over a period, you build a company which you continue to hold at least 50% of. That's important. By the way, a lot of startups, because they haven't thought through the initial capital, they start off with 10-15 lakhs of capital, right? They build something, they are at some stage, now they are desperate to raise capital. They find an investor who's willing to put in 2 crore investment, but they want 50% of the company. Now the startup is in a corner. If they don't take the investment, they die. If they take the investment, they dilute 50%. But in so many cases that happens. And actually, that's also a bad outcome. Because you take 2 crores for 50% of the company, if you cannot deploy that 2 crores to go to a certain takeoff stage and you need more money for that, your next stage of capital either will not be available or it will dilute you further from 50% down to 20% or something. Then when you, with all your hard work, you reach a VC investability stage, if you don't hold more than 60 to 70% of the company when you come to a VC, they don't want to invest in you. Because a VC doesn't want to run your company. They basically want you to run the company. They want you to have enough equity where post a Series B or a Series C, you should ideally still hold 20-25% significant skin in the game because you are the engine of growth of that startup. Right? You know, in one way, it's my own sort of easy definition of what a great capital outcome can be, right? And in today's world, there are a series of possibilities. A lot of companies grow at some point to be acquired. A lot of companies are strategically invested into by larger corporates. I mean, you take something like Yoga Bar, and Yoga Bar was acquired by, I think, ITC or Hindustan Lever, right? Health bar company, two women founders, I think they were sisters. They, I mean, such a beautiful product they built. It was a hard journey. They got some initial capital, but they built a market, they built a brand in such a tough space. And finally, they sold for about 200 crore exit or so. I was reading the interview of that founder. It's a fascinating interview. Even the timing of exit is very important. Sometimes if you don't take an exit at certain point, you may actually then go down in the value point also. So many things come up, right? So one more aspect here I just want to share, like I said, the whole world has changed in terms of funding, is that the go-go days, which I meant, you know, the easy capital days, there was like a urgency to deploy capital, right? You go, you get good valuation, you get more money than you ask for, and the VC wants you to deploy it tomorrow. Expand karo, revenue karo, grow at any cost, right? Now the world has changed. I mean, business also follows the law of nature. There is gravity. You can't just take money and, you know, use it to do what, right? You have to deploy capital very carefully. Finally, a startup founder's most important job, any founder's most important job is to be able to allocate capital sensibly. That's very important. Investor-driven time frames was the earlier thing. Now it's really all driven by business, right? How do you do? When do you expand? What do you expand into? Much more closer, clearer. Growth at any cost. Rule of 40, if some of you have heard. It's basically, it says that if you are growing at 100%, you can be loss-making at 60%. 100 minus 60, 40, you are good. So basically, you can be loss-making if you are growing. That was the rule earlier. I think it's a little bit crazy, right? If you sell a 100 rupee product for 60 rupees, you have an infinite market for it. You can show all the metrics you want.
But what is the margin on the product?
Yeah, so that's it, right? There's no margin of the product. Yeah. So vanity metrics, multi-city. Earlier, I've met so many startups. As soon as they have achieved some scale, right? The attraction is I'll go multi-city. Okay, but what you have to sometimes sort of think through as a founder is that if you go multi-city at the end of 4 or 5 years, if you go prematurely, you may have a 2% market share in 6 cities. What you have to weigh that off against is if you had stayed, let's say in the city of Hyderabad, which is a booming city, it's a growing city, you know, the largest companies, including somebody like IKEA, chooses Hyderabad to come to first. If you have 10% market share of Hyderabad, some larger, you know, up the food chain company will actually pay you a significant amount and you will be far more valuable instead of having 2% market share of 6 cities. So there are always choices, always decisions, right? So everything is about, making sensible choices there. Acquire inorganic revenue at any cost. I think that period is going slow now. Get stars, drive them hard, hire, pay, amazing amounts, give stock. I think everything is coming back to performance now, right? So you have to be coming to fundamentals. I think Maua covered some of these metrics very well, so I don't need to cover that. Quick few role models, right? I'm sure most of you may think that, oh, here is a guy who's giving some gyan, pagar paisa bana lenge, right? Of course, it's not easy. I'm not for a moment saying, and I'm not even saying that it's no funding. All I'm saying is a lot of startups, proceed with a misconception that at each stage they will be able to raise funding which will take them through to the next stage comfortably or pretty much okay. But as all of you know, the mortality rate of startups is about 98%. No more than 2 out of 100 startups actually cross 3-4 years of existence. The reason for a lot of that mortality is startups, there is no entry barrier. Anybody can start. I and my friend Sanjay here can start a startup tomorrow. We can get rolling. We can go to investors. Maybe because he's from IIM and I have grey hair or less hair, somebody might give us 2 crores also. But kya karenge? Finally there is so much of planning, so much of structure which has to be thought through. It's a business, right? You have to treat it like a business. It's a business which can be on steroids. If a traditional business would have taken you 15 years to generate maybe 100 crores of wealth, maybe a startup will take you 12 years, right? Be reasonable. In fact, I tell my investor friends also that, right? So, a lot of people ask me, a lot of my friends ask me, oh Sanjay, you're investing in startups, what's your expected return? You know what expected return? Out of my 20, 2 or 3 startups will probably give me 20x return. But 8 of them will actually go to 0. And already 4 of them have gone to 0. Okay? The rest will give me, I don't know, maybe 2x to 5x return. So end of it, early stage investing is about getting 35% or so compounded annual return. It's about being reasonable in your expectation, and more than that, I like to say this to all my prospective investor friends, some of whom may be here, is that early investing is nurture capital. You have to invest in the startup, you have to mentor them, you have to take them to market, you have to help them hire senior people, you be there with them. So your job as an angel, as an early investor is to take the startup from where they are to becoming VC investable. That's the role. You can't sit back and say, because I read in the paper somebody got 100x exit, even I should get 100x. Bahut mushkil. Okay, so quickly, some notable companies, Zoho, Freshworks, we all know among IT. Zerodha is startling example of a zero commission breakthrough in brokerage and investing, and I think the timing converged really well. I think Indians as a mindset are now coming to the markets. So much of fixed deposit money is coming in. ID Foods, iconic company, right? Paperboard, yeah. Serum Institute, these were the vaccine people. Mu Sigma, some of you may have heard of. MYK Laticrete, a Hyderabad-based company. Murli Yadama, Nandita, you must have heard him, right? He's an amazing guy, right? Self-built, ground up, bootstrap. Oak Ridge School, interestingly for some of our Hyderabad people, I heard the founder speak, he had come to a small group which we are a part of. Very inspiring story. So a lot of things, out there, right? So I'll just use the last 4-5 minutes quickly to, what is it you need to scale without funding, right? There are 4 or 5 questions which you have to look in the mirror and answer for yourself. Are we addressing a real need? I covered this in my definition there. Is there clear value? Is the market large and scalable? That's very important. Put that criteria to test, right? Have we built a solution which is a resilient solution, which can stand? And like one of the speakers mentioned, Actually, good customer service can be a huge differentiator. If you ask me, I sit on the board of a large multi-speciality hospital, and I often tell the founder, healthcare in India, there is no concept of customer experience at a hospital. So I joke with the founder, I tell them, sir, आपके hospital में आना is like going to Tirupati, जग मार के जाना पड़ता है, भगवान का दर्शन लेने, दर्शन होता है, पीछे से कोई लात मारता है, and you have to go out, I said, where is the experience? If large hospitals can actually invest in healthcare experience. And I'll give you an example. I met a startup, organic startup, a company called Sempia, CEMPIA. They built a SaaS platform for customer feedback in healthcare. Vertical SaaS. Fascinating company. 5 years time, today they are a global company. They are doing about $5 million ARR. Funds are chasing them. He's not taking money. Fascinating, right? So find a good problem and solve it well, right? What is the research and prep you have done? I think the plan is very important. This again, I get all types of anecdotes. A few years back I met a company, they are super successful today. So one of the funds, Indian Angel had requested me to meet with them. So I asked that founder, I said, show me your business plan. I just want to understand, It was an EV company. So the founder smiled at me. He said, sir, do you want me to spend time on Excel sheets or go out in the market and win customers? I said, yeah, dono bhi karna padta hai. You can't help it, right? So like I said, you have to be Superman, Spider-Man and Batman. You can't just be, selling and thinking that all these business plans are for the birds or for the, finance guys like this guy, right? It's a good combination. You have to bring it together. Do we have a clear view of the resources which we need? Again, plan, talk to people, find mentors. The best help you can get is from your peer network, right? Talk to people who have succeeded, talk more to people who have failed. Not to get scared off, but to learn from their experience. Really important. Have you thought of each of the logical stages, right? So finally, are you prepared to be everything? Spider-Man, Superman, Batman in one. But the most important point I just want to share on this is that you have to be able to sell. As a startup founder, you should realize that a good founder who can sell anything can not just get through but succeed, right? Your product can also come next. In fact, this is another point. With a lot of my deep tech companies, I try to tell them, Bhai Sahab, the product is only 30% of the journey. And they're looking at me aghast, thinking, what do you mean, 30%, right? It's not 80% of the journey. You can make a brilliant product, software. So Microsoft is like the Hindustan lever of software products. Microsoft can make anything and they can sell it at a 80% gross margin. I and Sanjay, again, we can make a great AI LLM, right? But how do we bring it to the market? Our product would be, world-beating product, but can we sell it? Can we bring it to light? That part of the journey is often far more difficult than just building it. And I'm not against product people. I'm fully for them. But you just have to be realistic in what it takes to get to that success. That's important. Maybe your product will be acquired by Microsoft. That's fine. So build a great product, but then you have to get exposure to the right people. I meet so many software founders. In fact, right now I have 3 AI great products sitting out there who are struggling to get demos, struggling to get good audiences by people. And they need to showcase the efficacy of their product, right? Okay, so this is really the last one now. Great customer experience, I talked about. Pricing at value minus and not cost plus. A lot of founders, I like to share this important aspect. We all grew up in our business life like that, especially in IT. The tendency of the Indian IT industry was a cost plus pricing. I think the global IT industry always taught us that it has to be value minus, right? The realm of aspirational possibility. I'm not for a moment saying be conservative, be defensive, be slow. You should aim for everything. But realistic. There has to be a line of sight to profitability now. That's very important. Focus, relentless execution, chutzpah, right? So never say die. Eventually every startup has to become a business. So I'll just leave it here now. So this was the last one, like I said, getautopsy.com is actually a website which has an account of 200 startup founders who failed. It's a first person account in long form and it's a fascinating study. Thank you. I think I overtook my time, but my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jasrani, that you addressed few things so well. We are sort of, relieved that funding is just not the only mantra to scale. Thank you to all for this session. We would now like to express our thanks to our speakers. May I request Mr. K.A.S. Menon, our director, to please come forward and hand over a memento to Dr. Rajesh as a token of gratitude. May I please request Dr. Nandita, our director, to please come forward and hand over a memento to Ms. Mahua Ghosh as a token of appreciation. Now I would like to request Mr. Aditya, our director, to please come forward and hand over a memento to Mr. Sanjay Jasrani as a token of appreciation. I'm sure all of you must be eager to know what Tesolutions is all about. Our director, Dr. Nandita Sethi, will take us through a short presentation. So may I request Dr. Nandita?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just take about 5 to 7 minutes. Just tell you what we do, and much of what we do is coming out of what our speakers have spoken today, the pain points that startups go through, some things which you have raised, and some institutional problems. So we are just taking on from that, and those are the pain points we have seen from the past decade, and we have put it together. Earlier we were known as TES. Now we have scaled up to giving very specific solutions to startups in a consultancy mode, and so therefore the word has now become Tesolutions, solutions from TES. That's our brand. Yeah. So basically we are here to provide solutions to startups, and we understand from the past 10 years we have seen them struggling in their growth path, facing several problems, funding being of course the major one, but more than that I think it is choosing the right model to, choosing the right technology, where technological issues several times, choosing the right markets, the customers. So basically looking at all of this, we have actually now come up with a proper system of mentoring startups on a one-to-one basis in a more of a consultative mode. So we are enabling an ecosystem building where startup ideas are nurtured to become successful ventures. Our mentoring is specific on one-on-one consulting, incubation and support services. So it includes both the mentorship part, which is I believe the most important part, much more than funding, which comes after a lot of mentorship that has to go rightfully in a right way to the startup. We also help in providing services, because then we become like a one-stop shop and you don't have to go to 10 places to get that one startup launched. So from providing you the mentorship to taking you through all the important services, which can range from financial, consulting, regulatory, technological, and so many other things which you would need to actually start your startup. For institutions, we do a lot of capacity building, which is setting up incubators and doing pre-incubation and incubation programs for them. So they outsource a lot of incubation related activities, both from setup of incubator to running the incubation programs, which we help institutions do. So we build capacity for them. And the last is the most interesting and the most exciting that we are looking forward to is corporate co-innovation. Over the last 10 years, we have realized that the easiest way for startups to actually scale is to marry a startup with a corporate which is in the same field. I think Sanjay Jasrani sir just said that the experience, so there is where the experience comes. The corporate who's working in a certain field has been working traditionally or whichever way for the past many years, so they have this world of knowledge, expertise, and professionals who have worked on it. And here you have a startup who's coming up with a brilliant idea, and probably the company is looking for these kind of ideas. So this is the corporate co-innovation program, where we are connecting these startups with the corporates to do a co-innovation together and to the win-win situation for both of them. So it is a win-win situation, and it can go any way, of course, with the complete understanding on both sides of what they want from each other. So basically, we are looking at startups, incubators, and corporates and SMEs for the co-innovation part. In our startup services, of course, we understand the pain points of startups. So from idea validation, which is most important, understanding the pain point, that's what most of our speakers have been saying today, that validating, you are passionate about the idea, but validation doesn't happen until you really do a good market research, a market survey, and come up. So we help you with idea validation, proof of concept, then a go-to-market strategy, a sales strategy, business and revenue modeling for the startups. Then we get you ready for the investor. So while we some of us in our team are ourselves angel investors, but more important for us is to get you investor ready. So that's what we do. And investor readiness means a lot of things. I'm sure Sanjay sir is here, he can tell you. Getting you on the cap table is a big journey, and that journey is something, without that journey you can't even sit on an investment deal. So we get you ready with, from documentation to your big projections, to your valuations, to your pitch deck, to your tech platforms, to all that. So investor readiness is a big thing. Then the tech part. This is another pain point which we have seen over the last 10 years, that you build beautiful platforms and technology products, but in the journey of building, you find a lot of bugs in the thing, and sometimes their startups have to go back, have come midway and have to go back to the start again, losing all the money they spend on the tech because the tech was not made properly, because the way it was communicated, there's a big communication issue also in this, the way the tech guy understands and the way you want him to do, there's a big gap. So here we have tech people in our team who can help you with this and also audit the tech platforms for you and integration of AI and everything. Then we have support services like legal and compliance, and I think we have some people here, she is also there, who helps us do a lot of legal compliance, IPR, branding, media, communication, and a soft launch for your startup. So what's different between us and the others? For one, we ran cohorts for many years. But today, we are scaled up to understanding that the startups have very, very individual problems. There are some common problems which we can take commonly in a cohort, but not everything. So at that stage, they need that one-on-one mentorship. And that is important. So the dedicated mentorship, one-on-one, for every startup who comes to us, will get a mentor who will be through hand-holding that startup right from beginning till his launch for that part. Other than that, it could be possible that the mentor is not an expert in every field. So at some point, you need a domain expert. So that's where we have a whole pool of domain experts which we fall back on and get them into the mentorship sessions that we have for validating or for understanding whether the product is going the right way or not. Then we do workshop and events like this on key topics. A lot of startup founders come back and tell us, look, we know everything. Like one of our startup, typically he's building a very nice product, but he said, now just tell me if I go to the investor, I just don't understand all these financial terms. There's so many terms. So our mentors have to sit and, literally, so these kind of terminology, jargons, understanding financial concepts, until they know, they cannot even look at an investor. So some sessions on this we take where startups want specifically those sessions. And then we facilitate investor connects with our pool of investors. For the institutions, our second vertical, we do a lot of campus, we do a lot of campus entrepreneurship programs. Now this is where I think Pratham was saying there are mental health issues for students because we haven't created the entrepreneurial mindset. So our first program is the campus entrepreneurship program, which is a base program to bring the entrepreneurial mindset. It's a very base level program. Then we have a campus incubation program, which is for setting up the incubator and running the incubation programs. The third And in that incubation programs, we take the next level of students who have graduated after this entrepreneurship program to actually go ahead with programs which are focused to building their startup. Then we do a lot of other things, because today educational institutions have a mandate and agenda to show also and do also a lot of incubation activity, innovation activity. They have some IICs, and so there's a lot of hackathons, boot camps, so all that happens for the institutions. We support them with all this. Another important thing that very few probably would do is training the faculty to take on mentorship and also to become part of the incubation network. So there's a big dichotomy. There's an incubator in a college and there's a faculty who's made in charge, and there's no connect. So this problem I've seen across all colleges. एक incubator है, fund मिल गया, वो दिल्ली से Startup India seed fund, Atal incubation fund, yes, एक incubation manager रख दिया, but they have no idea now how to take it forward. Except for premier institutions, of course, where lots of faculties are parts of startup, mentors, and also take equity in them, but majority no. So we fill that gap as well. We do faculty development program, and lastly we support lots of guys in colleges to do internships with startups. Both of them need each other. So either we place them with startups, and obviously these are guys who want to take up build startups on their own, so they want to go through the process and see. So we kind of connect startups with these students who either want to intern or want to be placed with startups. Corporate co-innovation program will start, generally starts this way. We identify, the corporate comes up with a problem statement, and this has happened. There was a logistic company, a IT company which was building products, IT products, and they typically told us that, you know, that was just one example I'm giving you, that can you connect us to startups who are, you know, building products which are connected to us. So that's when we saw that this is happening in a lot of places and we want to be a part of it. So we start with a problem statement from a corporate, and then we have this list of and pool of startups which we have over the past few years. And so we kind of marry the two, and they find process innovation, product innovation, business model innovation, service innovation, tech innovation. They need the startups because they come with a fresh, innovative mind, and they need these corporates because they have a world of experience behind them. So we do that and develop the product. The program is monitored with, by us, and finally lead it to commercialization. There can be different modes in which they can get acquired, or they can part ways also, either way. Yeah, I will not focus much on this today, but we do a bit for our traditional SME services also, a lot of services for them as well, from the most important being the digital transformation that we do for small and medium enterprises. Some of them are startups, but we call them SMEs because they are typically not into they're mostly into manufacturing, but they do want a lot of strategy and they do want a lot of digital transformation, so that's where we come in with innovative ideas. This is our team, and request our team to come forward. Menon has 40 plus years of experience, 25 in senior management leadership roles. FMCG are the main sectors, pharma and building material. And he has an expertise in scaling up business, strategic planning and turnaround. And then we have Sandeep, who has 30 plus years in management consulting, corporate advisory, investment banking, VC, PE investment, research and business valuation, and his domain expertise is food tech, fintech and pharma, and he also dabbles in social enterprises. And then we have Aditya. He's a software engineer and takes care of a lot of our tech related issues with startups. 20 plus years of work experience in MNCs across geographies, and he's ex-director in Nagarjuna Cements Limited. His expertise is prop tech, construction tech and tech for good. And of course, I'm there. 40 plus years, my experience has been mostly with academic institutions and student startups. But we have been training a lot of corporates at the senior and mid-level in corporate. So my expertise would be in FMCG, pharma, and health, well-being, edtech, fintech, agtech, because we do a lot of programs with ICRISAT on our agri-business. So we have expertise in agtech as well. Typically, last 10 years, we have mentored 300 plus startup founders who have gone through our cohort-based programs earlier. But now some of them come back because they want scaling up, and that's where we are consulting them on a consulting model. And of course, we have Jilani, who will take care of the academic institutions programs. He will handle all the programs with the and we have Rosalind, who will take care of business development. So these are some of our achievements in the last few years. 300 plus founders mentored. 22 cohorts we ran with the University of Hyderabad and 5 cohorts with ICRISAT on agribusiness. And we have supported 10 plus on incubation capacity and in institutions, building some co-innovation programs with corporates and supporting a lot of digital transformation in SMEs. Some of our institutional clients, some of our startups in the last few years. Yeah, that's it.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to my Startup TV.